Hello and welcome to the Reds Report, proud to be part of the TalkSport Fans Network. Well, over the last 5 matches, 23rd in the form table. Over the last 10 matches, 18th. 2 wins from the last 11, 9 points from a possible 33. Yet Barnsley find themselves still in the playoffs positions. On the pitch, lots of questions. Off the pitch, well, let's see what our panel has to say today. First of all, the man who travels the length and breadth of this beautiful country, providing superb commentary for BBC Radio Sheffield listeners. Adam Oxley is with us. Good evening, Adam.
Good evening, Carlo. Great to be back.
Fantastic. And the man who, on a Sunday afternoon, when we go for Sunday dinner or a leisurely drive back from the East Coast after being a weekend in the caravan, he goes cycling for 70-odd miles because that's what Ian does. Ian, just show it to the camera so we've got that bit out of the way.
There you go, red rose.
It's the rum-coloured rose.
Oh, yeah, I knew you'd say that.
Boo! Boo!
Just let that. So 70-odd miles. You went from where to where?
Started and ended at Preston's football ground, a sportive that went out to the Forest of Bowland, up to near Lancaster and Clitheroe and all around, and very hilly, but very enjoyable. And now my legs are screaming at me, and I can't stop raiding the kitchen cupboards.
Well, sit yourself down, and I'd like to say strap yourself in because I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about. Last week we discussed 2 away games, one at Portsmouth that, in fairness, majority of us wrote off, and it was probably closer than we thought. And then yesterday, Blackpool away. Steve has joined us as well.
Time's this?
Steve, it's 1932.
Fashionably late.
1932.
Chinese, mate. Sorry, have I still got it around me gob?
It's fine. It's fine.
Beautiful. Joyong, Sheffield Road. Anybody Chinese? Other Chinese are available, but it's really nice.
Sponsored by them.
Yeah, Adam.
Again.
Adam, let's start with you. After the, can we say, narrow defeat away at Portsmouth, pressure starts ramping up a little bit because those elusive 3 points. Now, given our away form prior to a few weeks ago, you could have thought that maybe a good day at the seaside with a lot of Barnsley fans in attendance, many in fancy dress, was the ideal opportunity to put some wrongs right. That didn't happen, though, did it? Just explain. You were there on behalf of BBC Radio Sheffield. Just sort of like, we'll not talk about the atmosphere, but just on the pitch, because again, at times, Barnsley look a little bit like a pre-season friendly. I don't want to say 11 strangers, but it feels like all is really not well on the pitch. What was it like, performance-wise, from the Reds?
Poor, quite simply. I was very surprised, having spoken to Andy, who'd been to Portsmouth, heard about how good the Reds had been for the majority of the game, before, obviously, a striker giving away a penalty and then a really poorly defended set piece cost the Reds against the champions of the division. No shame in that. I expected the Reds to turn up and put on a decent show, and first half was just awful. Really, they were just at some of the players were getting at each other. They didn't seem to get any fluidity going. They were just hitting hopeful balls down the middle. There was hardly any playing around at the back, which is obviously one of the big criticisms. And then when there was, people were immediately jumping on that from the crowd. And I'm like, well, they've hardly played at the back. People have been banging on for weeks about stop playing about at the back, do this, go direct. And they were trying that, but just nothing was coming off. And like the first goal was a little unfortunate, good advantage by the referee, decent finish. Second goal's a free header, right on the stroke of half time. And it just, as Colin said afterwards, that and then conceding so early in the second half, it does matter the way Barnsley finished, because the last 15, 20 minutes, when essentially threw 6 people up front, Barnsley got a couple of goals, had a really good penalty shout as well, and could have come away with a point. I don't think it would have been a deserved point, because the majority of the game was poor, and the goals conceded, the second and the third, were poor. But it was just really frustrating, because you knew how significant the game was. You knew 2,000 fans were there. You knew the run that the Reds had been on, and they just didn't turn up, and it was hard to put your finger on what it was. A couple of the players were clearly trying to make things work, but the quality wasn't there. Passes didn't reach where they were meant to, crosses didn't reach where they were meant to, shots were going wide, there's no link up, midfield were being bypassed, and it just, particularly first half, really surprised me how poor Barnsley were.
Ian, as a fan, it's I know we were sort of WhatsApping throughout the match, but it's frustrating, isn't it? Because we know that when we're on the front foot and put the pressure on, we can play some really nice football that gets results. But we never seem to do that from the off. And yesterday was another fine example. For periods against Portsmouth, we played some great football and held them off. What is this a tactical thing? Is this a misfire between head coach and team? Is this a problem that's purely on the pitch? Is this individual? Because it's been going on for so long now, we are seriously running out of matches.
Yeah, I mean, we constantly repeat ourselves every week, don't we? That tactically, we don't have a style of play. Collins, we don't know how we get set up. Like say against Reading, the players had at the back had the ball at the feet and were looking at playing out, and then they're going long. They look like 11 strangers thrown together. I just don't know. There's no leader in the team. We've said that all season. There's nobody to get them scruff of the neck and get them through. But yeah, in patches, like say at Portsmouth, and in games they can turn it on, but it's just not been consistent enough, has it? And that's been the problem all season. It's every week we come up with the same things, and here we are with one game to go, saying the same things that we've said most of the season. I mean, I think on Friday I spoke a lad I work with, a Blackpool season ticket holder, and he said, I said there'll be one goal in it. I think it'll be close. He said, well, we don't score more than one anyway. He said, and they've been playing poorly.
We're blaming you, mate. That's it.
Yeah, well, no, he did. He said honestly, he said we're limping towards the end of the season, and we don't score much and stuff. And then they put a right performance in, didn't they? They were blistering at times. So yeah, I don't know. We just seem to we're conceding too many. We concede every week. We're good for the both teams to score racker. We're conceding far too many from set pieces, free headers. You're on a hide into nothing, aren't you? If you're going to be giving the opposition a couple of goals every game. So yeah, we're just repeating ourselves. Really, nothing's been learned, has it? Not learned any of the lessons for the last few months.
Steve, and I know this is a really awkward question because if we knew, we wouldn't be sat here. But since that home win against Derby, that was momentous at that time, wasn't it? We had another scarf day, fans turned up, atmosphere, flamethrowers, everything that could have been right. It wasn't raining. Everything that could, it just happened on that day. And then you look at the table and you think, just keep going now, don't we? And since then, we've won away at Burton. What is it? Because you can't really look at injuries, because I know Luke O'Connell's been unlucky this season. He was ill for the beginning of the season, then he came in. But it's not that without Connell we can't play. Grant is there, Russell's there. I know the different players, but it's not like we're short and we have to move people in positions where they normally don't play. What can we possibly, if you're looking for a cause, what could be for it to go so well, and then the boat comes and we're going to have a flag day and everything lines up together, and then since then, talking about limping to the finish, we're strolling with one leg backwards.
How diplomatic do you want me to be?
Well, try and be as diplomatic as you can.
Family audience, Steve.
Who's mentioned out about a family audience? That's no good, is it? That'll soon go downhill straight away.
It's all about opinions. What's yours? Come on, just give it. But I don't want to put another explicit marker on because listeners go down.
Oh, I'll be restrained then, shall I? I listened to the Blackpool commentary on Saturday. Sorry, Adam.
Cheers, pal. Thanks.
It's whatever dodgy stick you've got, mate, isn't it? It's just one of them things.
Exit screen.
Thanks for coming. There were a couple of things that the commentator said that actually made me smile, and there weren't a great deal to make me smile on Saturday. He had great difficulty pronouncing our French defender's name, which really tickled me no end, and anybody else who heard it, I'm sure it did them. And one thing he did say that actually did ring true to me, he said Blackpool now are asking Barnsley a lot of questions with their play, obviously. And it just came to me, I wonder what questions they're actually asking, because I'm thinking Blackpool must have been saying to themselves that first half, who's these 11 blokes here that's come for a kickabout? Who's that Pillicont sideline that keeps shouting at him, but no bugger's taking any notice of him? And you can have as many flag days, you can have a parade through town, you can do whatever you want. But them players are not connected to that manager. I don't care what anybody says. We've given him benefit of doubt all season, and I think we've been fairly, I think we've been fairly good for him. We've not slagged him off too much, apart from this last few weeks. But now you look at that team that is an absolute shambles, let's be honest. Some of them players couldn't care less. I've said it for the last three months. Kane shouldn't be getting a shirt. Not interested at all. Cole, did he try? Some people will say no, and 18 goals. Again, is that false? Yeah, he's back to what he actually is, and that's a mediocre League One striker. I think we've said all season that we've been in a position, it's been a false position, and it has. We haven't deserved to be there. We've not played that good a football to say we deserve to be in playoffs. And I think we're now reaping that people have sussed out how we play. They've sussed out we haven't got a style. I think, like Adam says, players are falling out with themselves. Collins has obviously, I'm not going to say lost the dressing room because that's an easy thing to say, but I just now cannot see how that guy's position is tenable at all. And if we limp into playoffs, does anybody, being realistic, does anybody want us to go up to Championship? I'd love for us to be in Championship, but we've got to be competitive. And at the minute, we are not competitive. We haven't got the players to be competitive, and they won't put money in for us to be competitive. They'll buy bargain basement, and we'll be back in the same position as we've been in for the last 3 seasons.
2 points there I just want to go further into. First of all, you talked about Collins. Adam, you interviewed him after. I've just screenshotted a tweet that somebody put. I did hear his view, but he said, it's fine margins, bad refereeing decisions, etc., according to Neil Collins. When he quotes several games we've lost and then says 9 out of 10, our performance would have resulted in a win. It could be, you could say that he's almost shying away from taking some responsibility because ultimately he sets the team up, he has the instructions, he has the vision. I agree there has been refereeing decisions where you think, but other teams suffer those as well. That's not just a Barnsley thing. I think we've said for a long time that the gap between standards of refereeing in, let's say, the Championship and League One is a lot. It's those sort of comments, I suppose, and I get it because, he has to face the camera or your microphone at the end of a match. What else can he really say? But you can understand, can't you, Adam, that quite a few fans are saying he's almost like shifting blame on everybody else because he doesn't come out and say, I'm going to have a really good look and see what we can do, because it just feels that other things get the blame and we could have won 9 out of 10. The problem is, though, we've got 9 points out of the possible 33, and hence we're not celebrating. We're not going into the playoffs, all guns blazing. We could yet finish up 7th, and then there'll be an autopsy of what happened. So his post-match comments with fans don't always sit well, but I suppose it's a no-win position for him, isn't it?
Yeah, I get why his post-match comments yesterday won't have sat well, because there were other factors like refereeing and injury and this, that, and the other, and other performances, and there wasn't necessarily a moment where I went, I've got to look at me and this, that, and the other. So I do get where people are coming from that perspective, but and also when he's been asked about his own role, his line has been pretty consistent in terms of nobody expects more of myself than me. That's pretty much what he said several times, which is his answer and is fair enough. Look, I am not the president of the Neil Collins fan club, definitely not, and I do appreciate everything that Steve's saying, and I've seen 3 or 4 of the recent run, and the performances haven't been great. So I'm not going to stick up for him, and neither did Neil, to be fair, yesterday. Even when he did mention the refereeing decisions, he precursored that with, we weren't good enough and we didn't play good enough. So he's not trying to sit there, blame the referees. He was frank and said, we weren't good enough. Now, that doesn't address why, and that does address how you're going to fix it. But I also do think that Barnsley are 5th in a division right now. Barnsley have a playoff place in their own hands still, even with everything that's gone on over the last few months. And I still come back to the fact that if you flip round when this run is and the previous run was, we're not having this conversation. If you flip round the away form and the home form, I don't think we're having the same conversations. And I do think those have to be those kind of factors have to be taken in, because Barnsley have lost 4 games in a row away from home, yet have acquired more away points this season than any other season in the club's history. Now, and again, like I said, come back to, that doesn't mean that anything that Steve said is incorrect. I just think that right now he needs backing for this week and this game next weekend, because potentially Barnsley are 3 wins and a defeat away from the Championship. And again, I share all the same concerns about off the field and how much backing there'd be and what Barnsley would look like up front. But if Barnsley are going to get promoted, then they have still got a fantastic chance here. Do I think that there's a chance that the Northampton game next weekend could turn into a bit of a nightmare on and off the pitch? Yeah, I do, from what I've seen. And my biggest disappointment at Blackpool yesterday was how quickly the fan base turned on the team. I get it. I get the frustration. I even got it after the break. Even after the 3rd goal went in, wouldn't have minded at that point. But there were people leaving. There were people chanting. There were anti-Neil Collins style of football chants. There were sack the manager chants in the first half. Those players needed backing. It weren't happening for them, but they needed backing. And it was as if yesterday, like, people wanted the team and Collins to fail. And that just didn't sit well with me. If it's 3-0 and the game's gone, loads of people left, fine. But just how early it was, and how, like, the Blackpool fans, they were all behind the team. They were all behind the team, and they've been as frustrated with their team as anyone, from what I can tell. But they were all behind the team. And it just came across to me as a club, on the pitch and off the pitch yesterday, that just wasn't together. And that's my reading of it.
Yeah. And I suppose, Ian, our league position, which has been, like Adam says, heavily, not subsidised, because we got those wins away, didn't we? We went on a fantastic run, and every time we went away, we brought points back, and everything was fine and everything was great. I think the fans' frustration is the fact that went all so well, and then in the last weeks, you know, you could say we can't win for toffee, except for the 1st of April, was it, when we were away at Burton? That if we'd have languished around 10th or 9th all season, and we never really got near the playoffs, people would have said, you know what, given the fact that the whole back three, a new manager comes in, people would have said, that's decent, it's something to build on. But because we've been in the playoffs position and towards the end threatening to sort of drop out of it, it's suddenly like a huge disappointment, because we would have taken 5th. My worry is, and I agree with what Adam says, if you go up, let's say we win on Saturday, and whatever happens is the Groundhog Day just going to repeat itself again? You know, we had an exodus last time we were at Wembley. Players that left when we lost out to Sheffield Wednesday. Let's say you win at Wembley, there are still players that no matter what happens will leave. Cole will leave, Kane will leave. I heard today a rumour that Sheffield United want this McAtee and not the one that they've got, because they like this one better. I just never fall in love with a lone player, they said. It's a bit late for that. And it just feels that if you go up, you're almost setting yourself up. You would celebrate, but you set yourself up for disappointment because you know the track record of this board is they won't be buying players that are championship ready because we did the same last season. And here we go again. Lopata, Shepherd, all out on loan. Dallas.
Sure.
They're all out on loan. So we bought them in, hoping that, you know, they might come of use maybe the season after. But if you go up, so can you understand people saying, I'd rather not go up because it'll be host betterment? Or should every football fan say, if we get a chance to go to Wembley, we should be going there, we should be backing them, and because this is our club, and this could potentially be another memorable day out for the right reasons this time, and see our team promoted?
Yeah, I could see both sides of the argument. I could see what Steve's saying. It could be quite shambolic if we go up. But you do want to go up. But I think our biggest opponent on Saturday is going to be ourselves. And I just think that the toxicity around the club and the fan base, you picked up on it against Reading last week. There's just a nervousness. And the best thing that can happen is if we score first and score early. But if we don't, I don't know what Northampton are going to do, whether they're going to be on the beach and they're not bothered, or they'll come and try and ruin the day. But I just think we're going to be our own enemy, really. And I think that the problem you've got is that for a long time now, the board we know they're a selling club, but they've constantly tried to buy a gem and sell them, like a Styles or a Callum Britton goes to Blackburn and they get $1 million or whatever for him. But there's only so many times you can go and dig around in the lower leagues. Eventually, you look, it's not paying off, is it? And you could go through that squad and you could probably get rid of most of them, or say, no, don't come back off loan or come back on loan or anything. There's only a few players that have actually consistently performed. And whilst we have picked points up away from home, we've been shockingly bad at home. And the football hasn't been great, has it? So I think it's just all coming together as one big mix now, because it looks like we're blowing this gap that we had. When you look at Lincoln, what were they? Were they like 10 points, more than 10 points behind us or something?
I believe they were 14 points behind us, and we had 2 games in hand.
Yeah,
and they're now as you can see,
imploded. So I think it's just all coming together. It's not been a great season to watch. I think it's probably been the dullest football I've seen for a long time. And I think
do you mind though? Let's say you get promoted. Is the style of play that important?
Yeah, it's difficult.
Is it about the result?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because fans would love results and performance, wouldn't they? Style as well, and you know, and sometimes you get a manager who, like Ismail, where the football wasn't particularly great, but you were getting results and everything was rosy, and you could put up with it because the players were playing for him and they were busting a gut for him, like they did with Duff, like they did with Stendhal. They don't look like they're doing that with this man. And I think fans have realised there's a bit of a deeper problem going on, that there isn't that connection between the manager and the players, and certainly not between the manager, the players, and the fans. I think it dangerous territory on Saturday.
Yeah.
Do you not think though that this season is going to be slightly different, because last season and probably the season before, the players that we've sold have actually been decent. Whereas this season, the players that will go, let's be honest, people aren't bothered about them going, whether they're going out.
Yeah,
it's not as though they're clamouring for Anderson to stay, or they're clamouring for, like we did last season. I think people will be, I'll not say glad to see back at them, but because of the performances they've put in, and in some respects disrespect that they've shown to the club, it's not going to be the same. We're not going to be disappointed. Well, I'm not going to be disappointed to see Kane go. Definitely not.
It's interesting though, Steve, isn't it? What Ian said, because you want to score early, you want to put the pressure on. We also know that we tend to get put under pressure. I spoke with a Northampton fan today. He says it's probably best out of players because most of our players have checked out. Lincoln wasn't in a very good place when they came to Oakwell, but I think when they look, and for their travelling fans, they want to make sure that, you know, there's 3 teams. It's on the screen now. There's 3 teams that could potentially catch us: Lincoln, Oxford, and Blackpool. And talk about pressure. You know, Lincoln are at home to Portsmouth. Portsmouth have already been promoted. Portsmouth had their party. They've been out. You could expect Portsmouth, I think, with a lot of changes. You know, give some younger ones, because they've gone up. Lincoln being in the form they're in, so it is a must win match. But given our home form and everything, there's probably more pressure on this than any other one. And when there is pressure, we've never been that good. So how do you see this one going? Do you expect changes?
We've not coped with pressure at home all season. Do I expect changes? What's he going to change? Who's he going to bring in?
Well,
I noticed Theo Chapman's been on bench last couple of games. Hey, look at that cat's tail there. Did you see it? Hey, it is a cat, isn't it? Is it a lemur? Is that an illegal lemur?
I'll just let you. I'll leave it as a figment of your imagination.
Well, send him away.
Based at the Yorkshire Wildlife Park, as I
am. Theo Chapman's been on bench last couple of games, and I know we spoke about him a couple of shows before. And other young lads who started season and looked really, really handy and looked as though they could come in and do a job. And we're only seeing them 2 or 3 games before end of season, when, to be honest, they could quite easily have stepped in earlier on in season when some of our so-called first team players were poor. But he never bothered as such. Will he change it? Like I say, what's he going to change? Yes, basically same 11 and then same 5 or 6 subs. It's only that, like I said, Chapman's come in. You know, he's going to go with Cole or McAtee up front. He's going to go have Cosgrove as a backup. That's basically it. I mean, all right, Aidan Marsh came on for a little while on Saturday. But it's as though...
Yeah, Fabio as well.
Fabio, obviously. It's just as though he doesn't want to bring any of the younger players in apart from JLo. But then again, the pressure from fans might be, you know, one of the main factors why Jallo is getting a bit more time on field. But I think Saturday he'll go with bog standard, what he has done for the last 5 or 6 games, to be honest. No, I don't think he will change it.
He is a little bit in a no-win situation, isn't it? Because let's say he drops Kane and he puts Chapman in, and let's say he drops Cole and puts Jallo in, and there is a bit of a toxic atmosphere and it doesn't work out. There will be those that say, you know what, at least we had to go. But there will be those saying, why the F did he start with them? Why did... So it's hard because it's a what-if type thing. I do want to ask, though, we know the fans weren't happy. I mean, Adam... ugly scenes after full-time as well, aimed at people like yourself, Doug O'Kane, who have really nothing to do with the club. In all respect, you're not club employees. That's something while we get people being frustrated, it should be vented at the right people, shouldn't it? Or rather than just people there to do their jobs and want to be able to go home safe. Just describe the scenes at Blackpool after full-time.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was half-time, to be honest, as well, Carlo. I mean, I got to hear about some of it afterwards, some of the supporters, because where you are at Blackpool, in what used to be the temporary stand that's now a kind of permanent temporary stand with the roof, you're in the middle, and then the away fans are right next to you. And we started the game with, like, 2 rows of seats covered up with netting. Quickly, when a load of Barnsley fans came in late, as you do on an away trip or what have you, people don't sit in the right seats. The stewards, in their infinite wisdom, decided to remove that netting and stand about 5 or 6 of them there. One of them stood right in front of me while I'm trying to commentate. Great job. Thank you, pal. Really helpful. And then as the first half wore on, 1 goal goes in, second goal goes in just before half time. Anti-Collins chants towards the end of the half. You know, people were running high. And, you know, it seems an individual has taken themselves into the press box, unchallenged by the stewards, and has intimidated and verbally abused 2 or 3 members of the kind of Barnsley media core, and that's just not on. You know, I posted about it last night on X because one, I wanted to stand up for my my colleagues, because you shouldn't have to put up with that when you're there to do a job, and you cover Barnsley with a lot of passion, a lot of energy up and down the country, and try your level best to get answers and do what you can, and you shouldn't have to put up with that. So the stewarding's an issue for me. I think that's something on Blackpool that has to be looked at. But equally, this is part of it, that people let situations boil over and can't control themselves. You know, there were people that I'd had a few beers yesterday. I got people trying to talk to me when I'm commentating. I mean, first of all, come on, I'm commentating. I can't sit there and say, hold on a minute, gentle listener. You wait while I talk to Angry Roy here, who wants to make his point about Neil Collins. And
Always the same, that Roy. Never behaves.
It just doesn't work like that. But I was just really disappointed. Like I said earlier, and I said in my tweet last night, I get the frustration. Totally get the frustration. The way this season is ending is not the way anybody wanted it to end. Fans, players, what have you. It's not ending the right way. But there's a way of going about things. Yeah. Me personally, I would back the team during the game. And then if you want to vent at half time, you want to boo at full time, you want to ring up the phone in, do what we're doing here, talk about it, whatever you want, you do that. For me, you back your team. Yeah. I do get why it's gone the way it has, but equally, I was just really disappointed, because I've covered Barnsley for a long time. It's a smashing club, you know, with a lot of smashing fans, and I think a few people let themselves down yesterday.
No, 100%. One last question before we do our regular forecast. I just wanted to ask, because I don't know how it works. Personal opinion, might be wrong. I was surprised that the player that they sent out, maybe he opted for it, I don't know. There's tough questions, isn't it, when you lose? And when I say again, Portsmouth, Reading. Aidan Marsh then came out. Credit where credit's due, you know, local, difficult questions. And I might see this different than other people, but I think I would much rather have a player there that's been part of the playing squad for those matches that you have lost, because they can maybe take some responsibility. Love the fact that he says, you know, we are fighting, and doesn't feel the words or the promise doesn't always come out on the pitch, I suppose, and you know, we'll always have that. I don't know how it works. I was just surprised that Aidan Marsh, of all people, who we've seen a bit here in the cup competitions, and obviously he got a couple of minutes yesterday, that he came out for the post match, and I think that says, I don't know who decides who does these interviews. I don't know if the captain nominates somebody, but if nobody wants to do it, then I think the captain should do it.
It's a club decision, Carlo. I mean,
right,
essentially it's a club thing. Look, sometimes there'll be players that will stick their hands up. Sometimes it's the media lads going in and saying who wants to do it. Sometimes it's, you know, other clubs. There'll be a group. If there's a defeat, you'd expect a group of 3 or 4 of the senior players to be the ones that come out. You know, at Sheffield United for a few years, it was Norwood, it was Egan, it was Basham, it was Billy Sharp. You kind of always knew it was going to be one of them that had come out and talked to you. I honestly didn't think that any player was going to speak yesterday. With the nature of how the game had gone and everything else, I expected it to be Neil Collins and nobody. As to whether Aidan Marsh was asked or he volunteered or whatever, I don't know, is my honest answer. What I do know is that as a young lad who clearly cares about the club, it was good to hear from him. I thought he handled the interview well. I thought he came across well. And that kind of interview, I think, is probably what was needed for the week ahead. Fans may have wanted a sacrificial lamb from the playing staff, you know, say Milder Javigny to come out, or Herbie Kane to come out, or Devante Cole to come out, me to ask them a load of questions, them to probably come across not in a very good way, as per discussions previously on this show, and then all revel in the hilarity and misery of it for the next few days. I suspect that's what people wanted. But actually, Aidan Marsh coming out, local lad, giving it a bit of talk and a bit of fight, you know, from a club perspective, from a, you know, for the rest of the week, is probably what was the better option.
In fairness, I spoke to somebody on the phone today and said, let's just hope he went out because he didn't deserve any criticism from the manager, and the other ones he were getting his a mouthful or so, and he was the one that was excused to go out and speak to the press. Ian, it all comes down to that one match. Northampton. I mean, if you go on form table, most of the other teams are better than us at the moment, which is weird to say because we are still in fifth. How do you see this one going, and what is your score forecast? And of course, which Barnsley player will score that elusive first goal? Early in the first half.
99 times out of 100, this should be a home win and quite straightforward. They've just lost the last two. They're safe. They're probably switched off. I just think the nerves around the ground is just going to be the issue. We always concede. I've got this horrible feeling it's going to be a draw. I really do, a 1-1 draw. I don't know. I've just got this horrible feeling. But I mean, goal difference isn't ideal either, is it? We're
Oxford and Lincoln are better, and Blackpool it's the same. So
it's the same, yeah. I mean, we're considerably worse off than Lincoln, and 4 off Oxford. It could even come down to that. Yeah, I've just got a horrible feeling it might be 1-1. Goal scorer, I'll probably say Phillips is the only one who's probably. I know we've given him a bit of stick this season. But
No, definitely.
Who's done that?
Who's done that?
I must have missed that episode then. Well, that one that Adam were on. One that Adam were on.
I think I might have even referenced that on air yesterday. that Adam Phillips may have come in for some criticism earlier in the season and has subsequently had a better second half.
Is that slander? That can I sue you there for slander? Is that slander?
I might not mention you by name, Steve, but
that makes a change then, doesn't it?
So I'll go Phillips because if anybody, he's been at least trying these last few games.
He's been a bit of a fox in the box, hasn't he?
I'll go Phillips, but I've just got a horrible feeling it might be a draw. I really have, just purely because I think the nerves will get to them.
Yeah. Steve?
Right, here we go. Come on, get ready. 3-0, Waters to score first. There you go.
Yes.
Waters.
Telling you. Waters to score. I'm telling you. You just watch, just because Wade Collins will be feeling this week. It'll be 2 fingers up to all supporters, and I bet you he plays Waters.
Do you think so?
No, not particularly, but it's just something that makes a talking point on Twitter next week, doesn't it? Collins doesn't know what he's bloody doing, so what makes you think I do?
I echo Ian's sentiment completely. Last day of the season, I just think early on, if Lincoln get a goal against Portsmouth, who have already been promoted, and I just think it'll just start. Maybe even if we're playing extremely well and absolutely, we hit the post 5 times, we have 5 dubious penalty decisions go against us. It's not just about us tomorrow. It's about us on Saturday. It's very much what's happening in the other matches as well.
And that's the other thing. Everyone's going to be on the phones, aren't they? So,
well, it kind of is. It kind of isn't, because Barnsley have got more points, so it's quite simple from a Barnsley perspective. Win the game.
Got to win. Got to win.
So I mean, I suppose about anyone. Maybe it makes it easier if there's, if it's just on screen. If Lincoln go ahead, we just need to score. We just need to win. So I'm going with. He said Waters. I reckon I think Jallo will get the first goal, because if anything, I've been protecting Jallo very long this season, thinking he might not be ready. But from what I've seen, that's a man well above his age. He shows no fear. He's probably not played enough to get player of the season, and some other ones are in front of him. But I tell you what. If we do stay in this division, then I think next year that's the one that could make a difference for us, and it's not somebody we have to buy. So I'll go with.
The Lords won't take very long tomorrow on Saturday, will they?
Well, that's pre-kick-off, but yeah. Melder Givnier for me will be. I think has been. I know he's had some iffy bits, but I think overall, when you talk about consistency, I think he has to be there, and he's not being helped by the changes in formation, moving out to the right, going in the middle. everything else. But it is what it is. But listen, this is a person who said Kasper Lopata would be player of the season, but apparently he's doing really well for Wallvale. So that shows you what I know. I'm going for a draw as well. I don't think he'll be enough. I would be gutted. And I'm not going to. I think the writing is a little bit on the wall, and I think these last few matches have seen that when it comes to it, it's Are you there Saturday, Adam?
No, I'm not. Next Saturday, I'm disappointed not to. I've got to be honest, but it's one of them at the minute. There's with Donny's situation, with Wednesday's situation, with everything else. I'm not at any of them. I'm going up to Newcastle to watch Sheffield United probably get absolutely annihilated. So I'll be keeping across matters earlier on while up on the Toon, and hoping for the best. I'm going 2-1 Barnsley with McAtee, by the way.
See, and the thing is, it is very much an end of season thing in South Yorkshire. I mean, Doncaster were written off by many. They've done what we did in sort of 2016. I had a really good one.
Insane.
Sheffield Wednesday doing what Sheffield Wednesday does. Will they? Won't they? Will they? Won't they? Chesterfield have done really well. I suppose the last chapter of the 2023-2024 season book will be written at Oakwell. Whether you love him or whether you hate him, at least give the players a chance to demonstrate what they are capable of. If you do get really frustrated, take it out when you get home, but leave the staff, the stewards, and
nip round to Adams and kick his cat. Or his lemur. Or his lemur, if it's a lemur.
There's a bit of
a Newcastle.
A bit of a West Ham vibe going off now. We're kicking cats and everything. We will be back next season to look back at the season, and who knows, maybe even previewing some playoffs. We'll go through the squad in or bin. Steve, see what I did there? I
like it, mate. That's something else that won't take very long, isn't it?
Adam, thank you very, very much. And before we go, next week our sponsorship money is coming through again. I think it's £32.49 this month. So what charity can we donate to on behalf of you for this next coming month? It'll be done early next. I think it comes in on the 23rd or 24th. So what charity are we going for?
Let's go Western Park. They've done various things with Barnsley this season and with a variety of our clubs, and I know that there's people from across the area that go there and get some excellent care. So the money this month, I think, Western Park would be great.
Very good. As always, we will make that donation Tuesday or Wednesday. We will stick it on Twitter. And thank you to the sponsors, TalkSport. Love you. And then...
Are we still on McDonald's? Do we still get McDonald's or what?
No, that's running for a bit. I think that runs till the end of the season, so that will come in later on.
I've still not had me free fillet of fish. There's only me eats them. Nobody else eats fillet of fish, apparently.
And on that shocker, I'll leave you there. You have been listening to the Red Report. Adam, Ian, Steve, thanks very much. We'll be back next week, or maybe for a couple of weeks after as well. We'll see.